Hello to you all. My name is William Coulter, and I'm coming to you today from Santa Cruz, California. My dear friend and musical adventurer, Edwin Huizinga, who I know many of you know, asked me to say hello to you and play some music for you, and I'm happy to do that. As you know, Edwin and myself and mandolin player Ashley Broder were scheduled to play music for you at the SweetWater Music Festival last summer. And of course, we didn't do that. We were not able to. And it was very disappointing to us. I was very eager to see the beautiful place and meet all of you. But in lieu of that, it's nice to at least get to know each other a little bit. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, where I come from, and then I'll play some music for you. And we'll have that be our first introduction in hopes of meeting in person again as soon as we can. So here we go. I was born in the great state of New Jersey on the east coast of the United States, and I grew up in a household that was steeped in classical music. My father was a choral singer and founder of a choral group called the Pro Art Double Chorale. So as a kid, I heard lots of classical music in the house, and there were musicians coming over for rehearsals and dinner parties and that kind of thing. And I also went out to rehearsals and heard many concerts by my dad's choral group. And I have to admit, as a young person, I didn't always love it. Sometimes it was a bit of a chore. Oh, you've got to go to the rehearsal now. And I would end up reading a book or falling asleep backstage while they were rehearsing. But that music really got into my soul, and I soaked it up, even though I may not have loved it at the time. And one event in particular that I have a fond memory of was at Carnegie Hall in New York City, where the choral group performed a version of The Trojans by Hector Berlioz, which is a gigantic piece of music and many, many hours long. And I remember falling asleep in one of the boxes, in the balcony boxes, with the rest of my family there at one of their performances, and drifting off into sleep and hearing that glorious music wafting through the hall of Carnegie Hall. And it's just a beautiful memory that I have until this day. So I was steeped in classical music from that point of view, and being the youngest of four siblings, three of my older siblings were also involved in music, but they were involved more in pop and folk and rock and roll music of the time. And so I also was exposed to that. And when I was about 16 years old, I got my first guitar and learned to play kind of badly, jamming with Neil Young and Bob Dylan and Bruce Springsteen in our basement, playing very loudly and getting in trouble for playing too loud. So that was my first exposure to the guitar, was through the electric guitar, and then through an acoustic guitar that came shortly after that. I graduated high school and spent a couple of semesters at various colleges around New Jersey trying to find a way, figure out what my path was going to be, and didn't quite work out. And a couple of years later, as my three older siblings had done, they all had moved to California. It was a very cool thing you could do at that point. You could say, what are you doing? Oh, I'm going to drive out west, man. And that's what I ended up doing. And I ended up settling in the San Francisco Bay Area, where I still am now. And decided at that point that I wanted to pursue a more formal music education. So I applied to and enrolled in the University of California at Santa Cruz for an undergraduate music degree, performance degree, which I got. And then I went off to the San Francisco Conservatory of Music and earned a master's degree in classical guitar performance there. After that, I worked as a teacher, teaching classical guitar at the Milwaukee Conservatory in Wisconsin, a couple smaller colleges in upstate New York, and then eventually went back to Santa Cruz for a second master's degree, this time in ethnomusicology. And my focus of that study was Irish music, language, and song. And I have concurrently, throughout my whole musical life, played both in the classical music world and in the traditional music world. And over the years, those two things have combined and blended more and more. My work with Edwin Huizinga in our duo Fire and Grace, we have really enjoyed combining classical music with different kinds of folk music from around the world, and you'll hear some of that next summer, we hope. So my love for Irish music came partly through my older brother Steve, who ended up moving to Europe and settled in Ireland, and he exposed me to all kinds of great traditional music from there. And the piece of music that I'm going to play for you now comes also from that same connection. He had settled in a beautiful town in southwest Ireland in the county of Kerry, County Kerry, called Dingle. And he called me up at one point and he said, "Hey, Bill, I've met this wonderful Irish woman. We're going to get married. Can you come and join us for our wedding ceremony?" And of course, I was thrilled and excited to do that. And I said yes. And I got my plane ticket. And that summer, I was away to Ireland. And I was on the plane and realizing how excited I was to get to see their wedding. But I didn't have any gift for them at all. And at that point in my life, I didn't really have much money or any resources. So when I was picked up by my sister at the airport in Shannon, she said, "It's great to have you here. Fantastic. What'd you bring them for their wedding present?" And I said, "Oh, no, I don't have anything." And she said, "Well, maybe you can put together some music and play it for them at their ceremony." So that's what I did. I spent a couple of days wandering around Dingletown and Dingle Harbor and the beautiful area there, and was inspired by the great natural beauty of that part of Ireland. And I had a few little bits of music that I had worked on in California, and I put them all together and made a piece that I would play at their ceremony. And their ceremony wound up being much more like a mini folk festival than an actual wedding ceremony. They had met and befriended many, many artists from Ireland and other parts of the world who had kind of come together in Dingle because of the strong arts traditions that they have there. So there was, it was in addition to singers, there were dancers and a couple of people reading poetry, and there were jugglers out in the courtyard and a fire eater out in the courtyard, and just a wonderful collection of artistic expression, all combined and wrapped up with their wedding ceremony. It was a great experience. And I played for them in the ceremony, and it was just wonderful. So I'd like to play for you now that piece. And I decided to call the piece after the place. And in English, the place is known as Dingle or Dingletown. In the Irish language, it's called On Daingean. And I thought that was a much more poetic title for the piece. So that's what I'll play for you now. And I will leave you with that in hopes and dreams of coming up to be at the SweetWater Music Festival as soon as possible, hopefully next summer, and we can all get together and meet and enjoy music and enjoy being with each other in person. So I look forward to that. Thanks for tuning in. Again, thanks to Edwin Huizinga for asking me to give this little video to you about me and some music. And have a great new year. All the best to you, and we'll see you as soon as we can. Take care of yourselves, and bye-bye. you.